RMLO. So you need to do that, not just, oh, well, we just went to my attorney and he did some documents. Well, that's great, but that is not going to have near the value. Find that person that needs what your note provides, and then they're willing to give you, a fair price for it.
Got it. Now, in that situation, how do you make money? So I think the key, if I'm understanding correctly, the key is in creating mortgages that people want to buy, right? So
100%.
So what would a good mortgage look like, and what would a bad, like something that like things that because I've always thought about this. So I have that apartment complex that I talked to you about where the owner financed 4.3 million. I've always thought like, what if he ever wanted to sell that? Like, could he sell it at a premium or would it sell at a discount? And I guess that's the part where I don't understand.
We'll stay big picture on this one because we could go down some crazy rabbit holes. But for most people, when you sell a mortgage, there are big groups, and this can go, there's $50 million packages of mortgages that get put together. I'm not even in that ballpark. Sometimes those are sold at a premium, but they're sold up to someone who needs a lower return and they want to buy in bulk and they have a lot of money. Those are like big institutions. If that person's trying to sell a mortgage of, 4.2 million, it's a little harder to sell because there's not as many people that can buy a $4.2 million mortgage. The better your product, and the better you can produce for your investor, because that is your investor who's buying at the end, the higher value you'll get for it. We do sell ours at par value. If they owe $162,417.16, that is what we sell it for, right? We make the best mortgage that we can. We say, hey, this is what this mortgage will do. And we do everything we can to set it up for success. And so we get a high value. People telling you that you have to discount a mortgage by a large amount, they either are not selling to the right person or they haven't provided enough value in that mortgage. Which ones are going to get lower value? If you took lower down payments, so we do require a substantial down payment. That means
what's substantial?
So we're going to have 10% down or more most of the time, which for our buyers, they're committing, their total cash in is $25,000, $30,000. I could make them a mortgage with, $5,000 down. And it doesn't mean that all of them would suddenly be unsuccessful. It just gives us a lot better chance of having a long-term successful mortgage by getting a larger down payment. It does show that, they've worked hard, they saved up more money, and they're more financially committed. You want a high enough interest rate, right? So if I created my mortgages at 6%, that would not be near as interesting to you. Our typical mortgage rate, since it'll be the next question I'll tell you, typically 10.9%. So if I can get you a set 10.9% for the next however many years with real estate as collateral, that's really good for a lot of people. And they're like, man, I really like that. I like that I get to keep the real estate as collateral until I'm paid off. And that's a really good return, and it's set. It's not like with the market where you're going to go up, you're going to go down. It's much more predictable. So you have to have a certain interest rate. You need to set up the right way. I see people create them. We always use an RMLO, which is a residential mortgage loan originator. Big picture on what that is. So there's one in every bank that's making a mortgage. You just don't really know if you got a mortgage, they used one. You're not seeing them for most people. What they're going to do is they're going to check. They're going to make sure we didn't do anything with predatory lending. They're going to make sure that we qualified everybody on income. They're going to run credit reports for us. They're going to do initial disclosures for us. They'll also help us create final disclosures, make sure that everything fits within the parameters to create a good quality mortgage. We didn't do any predatory lending, and then they're going to put their stamp. And so most people that buy a note are going to ask you if you used an RMLO. So you need to do that, not just, oh, well, we just went to my attorney and he did some documents. Well, that's great, but that is not going to have near the value. And then it's really going to come down to your relationships with people. And are you providing the right product to the right investor or note buyer? Not everybody is looking for the same return as other people. Not everybody's looking for the same amount of work as other people. You need to have the right product and then sell it to the right person. Buying notes for me is not right for everybody. I say this at least once a week, and that's perfectly fine. But for a lot of people, it's a really good fit. And so find that person that needs what your note provides, and then they're willing to give you a fair price for it.
Got it. Now, in that situation, how do you make money?
So we've got our cost built in, and we've got our profit built in. So I bought the house at 100 and I sold it, we rehabbed it. We put in another 40, 50,000, and then I sold it at 190. We'll get some money on the down payment, right? We obviously have some costs. We had to sell it. We had some costs when we went to sell it. So, but there's still a spread in there for us, right?
Yeah.
And so when I sold the mortgage, I'm cashing out and I'm getting that spread.
When you say, I'm confused.
Okay.
When you say spread, like,
right.
Meaning like points?
No, not points. So the total amount that we've got invested in the property, if I paid 100,000 to buy it, and I spent 50,000 rehabbing it, I've got 150,000 in it. When I sold it at 190, right? I got a down payment. Say we kept $10,000 of that down payment. So I got that, right? And I made this mortgage. We had some other cost, but just for simple math, let's say my total cost was 150,000, but the mortgage that's there is 175,000. If you gave me $175,000, I have the difference of the 150 that I've got total in and the 175 that you paid me. So there's 25,000 just to keep it
simple. Got it. In profit. So, but in that case, like, wouldn't it just be the same thing as almost just like somebody paying you the 190 up front and just collecting your money, unless there's like points or unless there's like you're selling them at a premium, or what would be the point of going through the whole process of creating the mortgage, selling, if it's not financially more beneficial?
It relates to our entire business. Okay. So I don't necessarily think that everybody should start a full business doing this, but if you have people that want a certain product, those people that buy those mortgages are also going to be your private lenders. They're going to fund a lot of those parts of your business. So you want to create things for them. If I could keep every single mortgage, I would. If I could keep every mortgage, that was my initial plan starting. But when you do more, it's very capital intensive. It's just not realistic to keep every single one. And then you make something that other people want. And so, yes, the profit on those is similar to if we flipped the house and we sold it. I think you're very accurate in that. But what happens is, as you create more money from other people, they're going to refer more people to you, which is going to help your business. And it really helps our whole cycle and our whole ecosystem of everybody that we work with. But no, on those, we don't have to make a ton. But also, the more that we sell and create for other people, the more capital we make, the more we can keep for ourselves. I mean, it really does keep everything moving.
Yeah, because you're basically just turning the money. So the whole business model is to keep as many of them as you can, and then basically whenever you need to free up some liquidity, you basically sell some of them off. Now, let me ask you this.